Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Episode 36, the Fremantle Draft Chats. So we're going to open up the Fremantle Draft Chats today. We're going to talk about your team, Freo Docker fans, the Purple Haze, one of Perth's sides. We're going to talk about who you got. So let's get into it. So pick 25, Adam Swede. Pick 40, Tobin Murray. In the rookie draft, at pick 8, Leon Kickett. A Category B, Toby Wan. And a Category B, Ryder Luke. That opens up the draft for you guys. We're going to talk about the supplementary picks that you got. There's Zach Harding, who's battling out for a spot against Chris Sherry. And also you have Mason Cox, who cemented a spot. So that's who's looking to get on your list and also who's made your list. So let's talk about the first player, Adam Swede. So pick 25. He is a midfield/forward player. Standing at 176 centimetres. He is an Essendon Next Generation Academy player who has shown high levels of production thanks to his speed and ability to compete against the bigger bodies. So as I said, with his height, he's a bit shorter. Not quite as tall, but able to play against the bigger bodies. Heading into the 2025 season, Adam was relatively unknown to many. However, those that were aware of his potential as a junior after successfully overcoming an ACL rupture sustained in 2023. So yeah, it's not good to have an injury like that. And obviously, most of those who know sport quite well or just daily life, doing an ACL is a very serious knee injury. And it's a very hard one to come back from. So that being said, he spent most of the 2024 season building up his fitness to come back in 2025, which is a testament to him. Where he showed why he was highly regarded by AFL recruiters at Essendon's Next Generation Academy. Playing his junior football at Hadfield, Adam would come to prominence in his bottom age under 16s year as he earned selection for the EDFL under 15s representative squad and came runner-up in the under 16s Division 2 Best and Fairest, all that in 2022. Then he was off to Pascoe Vale for the 2023 season, where he played in a grand final loss. Unfortunately, that's also when he suffered the ACL rupture, which wiped out that season. However, he was already noticed earlier in the season, kicking 5 goals in an under-16 game against the Calder Cannons. Against the Western Jets, for the Calder Cannons against the Western Jets. And representing Vic Metro in the Diversity All-Star game, making the most of the resources available to him at Essendon's Next Generation Academy. So he got to use some of the resources there. And he recovered from the injury. That would also fast-track him to be ready, and by August 2024, he was beginning to play football again. While he didn't manage to break into the strong Cannon side, Adam would manage 19 goals from 8 games at local level, so quite capable at a lower level. With 16 of them in just 4 games. So 4 of those games he kicked 6 goals, so quite a lot of goals, but also at a bit of a lower level. So yeah, heading into the season 2025, there was much anticipation around Hassan El Akar being the next big thing coming from the Essendon NGA program. However, after opening a few rounds of the season, strong performances against Oakley, Tasmania and the Northern Knights, Adam would be rewarded for his efforts with a call-up from Vic Metro in the trial squad. So yeah, I've mentioned Hassan before. He got picked up by Essendon. Where Adam is being picked up by the Fremantle Dockers. So yeah, both products coming out of that program. And yeah, as he's being rewarded for his efforts, we'll call up to the Vic Metro trial squad. So you have to earn a spot for the Vic Metro. It's one of the state teams. After further top form against Vic Country and the Young Guns, Adam was selected for the final Vic Metro squad. And his best performances came against a strong Allies side where he kicked 4 goals and had 9 score involvements. He finished averaging 17 disposals, 4 tackles a game, and earned All-Australian selection for the championship. So yeah, not bad statistic. Averaging 17 disposals, 4 tackles, so I guess the ability to run through the midfield. Collect a few disposals, but have a good 4 tackles, almost 5 tackles a game, which is what you need to be a small forward. And have high pressure acts. You need to be at the player, at the defense, chasing them back down also, but having attacking bit of play. He capped off the Coates Talent League season averaging 25 disposals, 5 tackles per game, and returning to colder colours with a full head of steam. He also managed to make a VFL debut for Essendon. We know Essendon did have a lot of injuries last year. Most of their VFL team was probably playing in the AFL, so that could have fast-tracked his development, which is not a bad thing. Got to play a bit of VFL, so you got to take the opportunity when it comes. And yeah, on a Saturday night in June, managing a respectable 10 disposals and a goal for the game. So yeah, not a bad first game. Obviously, that would have been a hard game to come into because most of their team would have been stripped. Because, the amount of injuries that they've had. For those who don't know, Essendon's had a lot of injuries last year. The most in the AFL, so out of every team, they had the most. So, yeah, to get 10 touches and a goal is a fair way to make a debut in a team that would have been quite struggling. So, well done, mate. Capable of rotating between the midfield forward line, Adam bases his game on 2 players that play in his preferred positions. One of them are Richmond's inside ball Dion Prestia and Hawthorn's resilient small forward Dylan Moore. Another player that he looks up to for inspiration is obviously Batcher Hooley. Through his foundation, obviously a former Essendon and Richmond player. And also Saad El Hawa as well. So there's a couple of Middle Eastern background players that are playing amongst the AFL. So he arguably models his game on Dio Prestia and Dylan Moore. So quite, Prestia is a good little player. Or must I say, quite a big meatball. That's his nickname. He's a meatball. Solid inside midfielder. So, if this guy can get to that size and be a good inside midfielder, that would be good. I did sort of think that for Fremantle, they do need an inside mid. After losing a couple of players, for some reason the coach didn't want to play Will Brodie, but Will Brodie would have been a good inside mid for that spot. But he's elected to go with other players. So we'll just talk about his strengths: defensive pressure, evasiveness, resilience, scoreboard impact, speed, and work rate. Improvements: a bit of more composure and size. So as he wants to model his game on meatball, he's going to have to become a meatball and beef up in that department to play that inside midfield role. So that's he's already shown resilience to bounce back after some adversity early in his career. And essentially, so even though he wasn't selected for the Calder Cannons, he did what he could to prove himself right post-surgery and would exhibit a never say die attitude, which is important. Determination. I like that about the bloke. That's a tangible thing and a good asset to have. But yeah, he fought hard in round 12 against the Western Jets, where he ended up with repeat efforts despite his side having a bad loss. He's another example of what he can do with determination. And in round 7 against Dandenong, where he was on the receiving end of a big hit from an opponent, but got back up and ran out the game. So yeah, can cop a hit. If you want to model his game on Dio Prestia, it's going to just part of parcel. Most players have to cop a hit. It's a game of footy, contact sport. But it's about how you get back up and continue on. So he has that about him. I like that. So yeah, his speed were on show constantly through the 2025 season, but he would use it to blaze away from stoppages and having read his ruckman's tap and the ruck craft well, driving his side forward with a quick ball movement. He also managed to do the same thing when it came to the fall of the ball from the contest. And so his ability to be an inside midfielder there is promising. His acceleration and then would kick in to catch the opposition off guard, making him hard to play against, especially with his disposal being so accurate by hand or either way by foot. His impact was on the scoreboard was shown in the national championships, as I mentioned, how he kicked 4 goals against the Allies. He also has the ability to do damage to the opposition by setting up others, which is one important thing about football is kicking the ball to a player that has a better position than you do instead of blazing away and being selfish and kicking goals. I like that about him. That's smart. That's the difference between a good team and an average team is they're willing to share with their teammates and kick it to a better position, therefore meaning more accurate shot at goal and scoreboard pressure. Yeah, so he also backed it up by playing Vic Metro in the last game of the championships and also managed to have equal team high of 8 score involvements against Vic Country. His defensive pressure and work rate were other key features of his game. His endurance to provide excellent ground coverage with strong technique. He would average 5.2 tackles in a game with the Cannons and 4.8 per game with Vic Metro. So averaging around about that 5 tackles, so good pressure impact player. Standing at 176 centimetres. His size is probably going to be what hurts him. But he's capable to put his body on the line against bigger opponents and also taller opponents. Through that approach, he may have shifted slightly at top level, being a crash and bash ball winner. He'll be challenged by competing against, obviously, men in the AFL and matured bodies. And midfielders who could come up to be 20 centimetres taller than him. Having said that, he did manage to compete well in his VFL debut against Casey. While he does not pose great pace, there were the times where he did look rushed at times with his disposal early in the season. However, in this area of the game, it continues to be addressed and fixed. So as he gets older, that may be fixed. So yeah, that covers him quite well. We'll talk about your next pick, Freo. And that is Tobin Murray. So yeah, he was a mature age player. Born in 2005, making him a couple years older. He was drafted from Geelong's VFL side. Obviously, Geelong, a very good side. And he would have been playing alongside and learning a lot of Geelong's craft. Them being the second team in the competition this year, unfortunately losing the grand final to the Brisbane Lions. He's also a small forward, standing at 179 centimetres. So as I said, he's a 20-year-old small forward from Colac who had a breakout VFL campaign. He kicked 22 goals and averaged 15 disposals across 17 VFL games. Murray is a tough in and under contested player with speed and power that also covers the ground well with good endurance. So that covers him quite well. So essentially stacking themselves with a lot of small forwards here. It's a continuous pattern I've seen here. But the one thing I do think about Fremantle is I don't think they generally need any more small forwards. It's just an area unless they have a different position for these guys to play. You might have them coming in inside. This guy's a bit more mature. Could they use him earlier on? While they develop Adam, let him sort of get right. Make sure he's 100%. He's obviously over his injury, coming back this year and playing consistent football. But they just nurture him and get him through, get his body right. And whether he earns his spot coming up and playing really well, they obviously will play him. But are they going to play Tobin Murray directly and early? So whether they play him as an in and under. And yeah, it brings a bit of maturity and a bigger body. So let's talk about Leon Kickett. So I'll just load up my notes here. Sent at 173 centimetres. Like I mentioned, another small forward. He's mercurial small forward with terrific goal sense, capable of taking high marks and haunting the opposition defensively. Leon is among a raft of prospects to climb into the 2025 draft. The Swan Districts forward produced a strong back-end season where he played 2 waffle games and only earned a state draft combine call-up, but was promoted to the national combine in Melbourne. The feat marked a steep ascent for Kickett, who shapes as the draft's top overage talent. So as I mentioned, he's a year older than the draft talent, so make him about 19. So hailing from South Bunbury, Kickett made 14 Colts appearances as a top ager last year, further 16 this season, but never managed to crack Western Australia's under-18 representative squad. Despite he continued to impress amongst his peers, so he must have just been young enough in that bracket still, showed his wares at the Waffles top flight after debuting against West Coast in round 19. Kickett booted 2 goals in his second and final appearances the following week. Full of confidence, the lively 18-year-old returned to Colts level Colts level for a personal best bag of 4 goals in the Swans elimination final loss to West Perth. His flair and skill clearly attracted the eyes of AFL recruiters, having been the only 2006 born player to attend the National Combine. So yeah, there he was the year older. Kickett was also one of 8 Western Australians to attend the evening and the event, having ridden his late season form into the draft conversations. So yeah, his late form is what got him through that door. His strengths: forward craft, smart, speed, tackle pressure, vertical leap, X factor, improvements, consistency, endurance. While many small forwards do 1 or 2 things incredibly well, Kickett possesses the relatively well-rounded forward craft. He has smarts to position and crumb at the full of the ball, which is very important. He also utilises the clever leading patterns to get up the ground and provide a connection, which is important so he can mark above his head and run down the ground and be that half forward type role too. So he's got also forward pocket craft and half forward pocket craft. The overager is also lethal around goal, able to finish in a variety of ways via set shots, snaps, check size dribbles, or straight on the run. So that's just the ways we can kick goals. Obviously, set shots, you mark, you walk back, you take your shot at goal. That's just what you call a set shot at goal. Snaps is when you're just running and you're on the boundary or having a snap even from a set shot. It's a certain type of kick on the angle. Check sides and snaps are virtually almost the same thing. Or bananas, if you want to talk. Different states have different meanings. Check sides, South Australian, it's where you just put it on the side, you kick it off the boundary and it sort of bends around. Dribbles, where you dribble the ball along the floor through the goal. Or straight on the runs, when you run and full tilt and you just have a kick at goal straight away. Kickett is a speedy customer who showcased his pace with a 2.9 20-metre sprint at the National Combine. He uses this trait to leave his opponents in the dust, and as he presents up the ground, gaining separation on the lead before losing his opponent on the way back. So he's got good leading patterns to break away from his player. Sounds like he's got a bit of a tank, which is good too. You know, obviously you want to do repeat sprints and runs, zigzagging in and out, and more, running back, coming forward, and taking marks. So essentially losing your opponent in that process. So you need to free yourself up. That's how he does it. The biggest aspect of Kickett is obviously his speed, but also doesn't compromise his skill when making things happen while he's at full speed. Along with his quick leg speed, also his vertical leap is another eye-catching athletic trait. Part of that makes him a little bit of a mercurial type player with the ability to use his leap and soar for speckies, possessing clean hands and overhead for his size, which is obviously an undersized player, but marks above his head really well. So that lead-up option covers his scoring avenues. His leap was measured as fourth best in the combine, notching 74 centimetres. So, and also the effort in the standing vertical jump test. That's quite impressive. So for his size, he's actually got quite a good leap. So he's one to watch. But I know Liam Ryan left West Coast, and now it sounds like Freo have a flying Kickett. So I like that. His speed and speckies are considerable for his X factor, being one of the Waffles Colts' most flashy prospects. He doesn't mind showboating while running into goal either. I like that. Bit of flair, bit of character. I like that. Tends to play in good spirit. So on the flip side, he has a nasty edge with his defensive intent, capable of hitting hard and applying ferocious tackling pressure. At 173 centimetres, he is deceptively physical and can bump opponents off the ball. It's good. Puts his body on the line. Bit of hardness, bit of toughness. For his talent, For his talent, there remains some room for improvements in Kickett's game. He found a groove late in the year, but can be up and down at times. Part of that comes down to development and endurance tank. Kickett certainly works hard and impacts the outside attacking 50, but is amongst the lower runners in the 2K time trial. So yeah, he'll be a burst player if he can get his longer distance running better. That's something he'll need to work on at a high level at AFL. Those just running the legs over, keeping the legs running, because it's a very non-stop game. And then picking and choosing when he needs to burst and use his speed and agility and attack the ball. So yeah, that covers him pretty well. So I'm not sure if he's related to the other kickers that have played. Obviously, it doesn't mention it here, but I would assume he may be related. So, yeah, that covers him quite well. Now we'll talk about Toby Wan. So he is South Fremantle midfielder, standing at 184 centimetres, so a little bit bigger. His strengths are accumulation, consistency, kicking, running capacity, improvements, efficiency and speed. So he needs to work on his disposal efficiency. Essentially how he uses the football, make sure he doesn't burn the footy. Toby heads into the November as one of Western Australia's likely draft hopes. The Fremantle Next Generation Academy member, so he had ties to Fremantle already. Has the ability to break through defensive zones with the penetrating left foot. His knack for finding the ball finding the ball at will in all conditions is another part of his hallmark of his game. The silky on-baller was consistently brilliant for the Bulldogs across his 12 matches in the Waffle Colts. His 41 disposal game and also 4-goal game against East Perth in round 18 was one of the standout performances of the year, proving a dominant in wet conditions. So, yeah, in and under wet conditions player, 41 disposals, 4 goals, very impressive. The season ended slightly early for Wan, who went off early in losing Colts grand final. He still managed to get up for WA State Draft Combine, running the 2km time trial with a 6-minute and 11-second effort. So, yeah, quite good. It's about the mark. Prospective suitors will likely consider his durability when making a bid in the draft. One does attract a bid, it will more likely fall on night 2, which means Fremantle won't have to give up much to secure him. So that draft range I had him sit between 40 to 60. Obviously went in the rookie draft, making it that they had not to match any bid and not really force Freo to lose any extra points. So yeah, that covers him quite well. And we'll talk about Ryder Luke. He's standing at 186 centimetre, also another South Fremantle forward. His strengths, athleticism, power, upside, X factor. His improvements, consistency, and also endurance. Ryder Luke would burst out of the ground with an 8-goal first half early in the Waffle Colts season. A game which helped propel him into Western Australia's stateside. The Fremantle Next Generation Academy member, so another NGA product from Fremantle, so doing some developing down there. Missed the first 2 national championship games through injury, but returned later to play a hand in South Fremantle's run at the Colts grand final. There is tremendous upside about Luke. He is a powerful athlete boasting explosiveness and speed and a spring-heeled vertical leap, which helps him impact the game both in the air and at ground level. And this leads to a sense of X factor about him. Capable of taking strong, big contested marks for his size and kicking goals from anywhere. Producing eye-catching moments out of nothing, while he sustained a relatively strong scoreboard impact with 21 goals in 11 games for the Colts. That's not bad. It's essentially going at 2 goals a game. That makes him quite good if he can do that on the big stages. Midfield players that can either rest up forward or use their tank to burst out into the forward line. And kick goals is what separates a good midfielder from an average midfielder. So yeah, his best example is his breakout game where he booted 8 goals in the first half, as we mentioned, and went without a touch therefore after. So yeah, very got to work on keeping that effort up and having that endurance to run out a game. So yeah, building a strong endurance base will help elevate his production and allow his raw talent to shine through. Fremantle will obviously have priority access to Luke and fellow NGA product, as we just mentioned, Toby Wan. So yeah, that's both players were picked. No clubs did any bidding on them. So that's 2 players Fremantle got through the rookie draft, didn't have it to expend any more points, which helps Fremantle out a fair bit there. So yeah, that covers Ryder Luke. And yeah, seems okay. Got 2 of those sort of players about that size. Yeah, just a lot of, a couple of, I do know they need an inside mid. It's probably one thing. They've gone with some local talent. They've obviously done some training with the teams. They've got a small forward, potentially another inside mid. And yeah, most of the lads there are from Western Australia. And paying homage to some of their local talent. So we're going to talk about another player that's fighting for a list at the moment. And that's Zach Harding. So standing at 199 centimetres. He was in... his strengths are aggression, physicality, production, and ruck craft. He has to work on his endurance and forward craft. As an established player in the Victorian pathway, Zach Harding could not have done much more in his overage campaign, having missed out on Vic Country honours last year. He broke through to become the team's primary ruckman in 2025 and even debuted with the Carlton in the VFL, the Carlton Football Club in the VFL. His Coates Talent League Team of the Year selection proved why he also was a good player. So yeah, standing at 199 centimetres, Harding is a physically imposing and aggressive ruckman. His craft is sharp and able to either win the hitouts with his leap and his bodywork, or take possession of the ball to clear the ball out of the midfield. He put up some big numbers in the Murray Bush Rangers colours this year, with dominant work in the contestant area, while expanding his influence around the ground. Harding is quite quick when he builds ahead of steam, so his speed is good once he gets going, but he can work on his overall running capacity and added endurance. So yeah, particularly with the recent rule of the AFL changes, that mobile and endurance will be key to sustaining an impact on the game and developing his forward craft when he rests up forward. So yeah, hitting the scoreboard obviously is more of an important one. And fundamentally has good skills and clean for a player of his size. He did have a pick-me moment when I think he ran and dashed and kicked a goal for Vic Country. So yeah, Vic Country was the second best team, as I mentioned in a lot of my previous podcasts. Unfortunately, losing to the South Australian undefeated side. And so that therefore makes him in the second best team, arguably could be the second best ruckman. And so yeah, he didn't get picked up. The ruckman in the South Australian lineup, Ainsworth, didn't get picked up. Both these guys, I feel, were a bit disrespected. But good on you, Fremantle, for giving this guy a shot. So I'm not just South Australian biased. I'm happy this guy got picked up from Vic Country. He deserves it. He's a second. I hope Freo give him a crack, give him a chance. I know you got Mason Cox on the list, and you got another guy fighting for it. it's what you got to earn your spot, so it's between him and the other guy, which I'll get to in a sec. But yeah, I'm happy either way. If you got to work hard to earn it, nothing's given to you. But yeah, I do feel for this guy. I feel that he should have, him and Ainsworth, to me, are the two big guys that are very unlucky. You have multiple clubs, as I mentioned the previous podcast. Ironically, it was Essendon. And I did mention that they needed a ruckman. Very particular, they needed a ruckman. I know Jackson and Darcy for Freo, they've sort of got two ruckmans there. But there's nothing wrong with giving this guy a year on the list. Just let him sit there and develop. If there's an injury, they'll be playing him. But let him, and you obviously got Cox who'll come in the lineup. I think Cox obviously is a big guy. He could be a number one ruck if you really needed to. But I feel like he's more of your second ruck option. And, they do have a lot of key forwards in that lineup. But could Mason Cox just be that resting forward? And having a second ruck, you got a few tools, which, that's okay. I don't mind that. If you never know of injury. This guy's got to earn his spot, but should have had a spot, should have been drafted a lot earlier for where he was. Cooper Tyler Duff was, second or third pick or whatever it fell to. I've already talked about that. He technically, after all the bidding and that, he probably would have been pick 2 because that's where West Coast pick would have been, and how it just kept falling because of the bidding system. But yeah, essentially, what's the actual difference here? Cooper Duff Tyler was in the lineup for Vic Metro, and Vic Metro didn't do quite as well as Vic Country, and overall, I know his forward craft, Zach Harding's probably not as good as the other ruckman, like Tyler Cooper Duff, but to a bit of competition, obviously he went to West Coast, so Fremantle come in and picked Zach Harding. So like, if this guy earns a spot, stays on Freo's list, and then becomes a good player, ironically that will sort of match with what I'm sort of saying, that he was in the second best team. Does that make him the second best ruckman? So time will tell how he develops. Obviously, the other players are going to develop too. So he just has to earn his spot. I just feel bad for the lad because he did quite well, and I feel bad for Ainsworth from South Australia. Just not even a sniff, not even a look at. So that's good on the lad. He has to earn it. He's had to go into state all the way to WA. And I'm sure that doesn't bother him. Players will go wherever they can go to earn a spot on an AFL list. So work hard, mate, and earn that spot. So let's talk about the player that we're going to get in for Chris Sequeri. He's also a small forward from the Northern Bull Ants VFL, who impressed with his goal kicking and speed. So another small forward. Do they need any more small forwards after the players I mentioned? Probably not. So this guy's going to have to work really hard to outshine all the other small forwards to say, you need to pick me in front of a ruckman. And you're going to have, that's the way it's going to unfortunately end for that guy. So it's quite interesting. He's going to have to, work really hard. I just see so many small forwards they got through the draft. It is going to be hard for this lad. I do feel bad for him. But you never know. Freo's already picked enough small forwards. They may pick another one. So, with Mason Cox, obviously the experienced Collingwood Premiership player, who was delisted by the Pies at the end of last year. And ironically, they used, used him as the tall forward that they brought into the lineup. I think they dropped McStay at the end of the season through Collingwood. Now he's been given a chance at the Fremantle Football Club to develop or to have the remaining part of his career and play out west. One thing I do notice with players, it's happened I think twice to him. He had a pretty bad eye injury and he has to wear glasses. And I do see some people try to take his glasses off when they get in a bit of a melee or a scrap. I don't like that. If you don't do that to the big fella. I just think that's a bit of a coward act, a bit of a dog act. That's just my view on it. The bloke, almost like he couldn't see out of his eye for a while. Had a pretty severe injury. I just don't like that sort of stuff. If don't do something weak against a big guy. Back it up by trying to bump him or make a play. And obviously some players are smaller, they're not going to do that. But just don't do silly things. That's just my view on it. I just don't like that sort of stuff. I love the contact and physicality. You're going to do something. Hit him hard in the contest. Not something cowardly like taking his goggles off and eventually could get poked in the eye if that happens. After severe eye injury, I just don't like that. It's just dumb. That's my view on that. Mason Cox is a tall American player. From America, he's one of the American premiership players, probably the first one to do so. I think he's from Texas. He's your 200 centimetre plus player. Yeah, so not much I can say about him. That covers him pretty well. He's at the later end of his career. He's over 30. And he's playing out the last bit of his career at Fremantle. And hopefully he can bring a bit of experience to the forward line. And a bit of an understanding from being a premiership player, what it takes to be there. And a bit inside knowledge from what he's learnt in his days at Collingwood. So that covers that. Roles that Fremantle didn't cover. Well, they got a young ruckman. They got a few small forwards that have the ability to play as a bigger bodied midfielder, an inside midfielder, but they weren't predominantly an inside midfielder. It's the spot that I thought they could probably cover a bit more. I think they got enough small forwards. Shout out to Isaiah Dudley for earning a spot last year. I thought they should have kept... I think he was in the lineup for most of the back end of last year. Should have kept him in. I don't know if he played in the finals. But yeah, they've got players like him, Bolton, Frederick. Now they've added like another 3. They got an extra one trying to get a supplementary pick. They're pretty stacked for small forwards. I don't know how many more you need. Suskowski as well. I probably butchered that then. He's another small forward that's quite good. I just very stacked. A lot of small forwards. Could they have added in another player? They got Zach Harding essentially for free, so there's no knock there. They got Mason Cox as a bit of height and matured sort of nature about him to come in and be a guy that can tell his experience to the other players and what it takes to be a premiership player. Just thinking there's that. I think they're pretty good for tall forwards. Tracy obviously is one of their dominant forwards. You got Voss. And they're pretty well covered. There's maybe a key defender. They've obviously got Pierce down back, and they did lose him for an injury. Maybe a running halfback could have used that. They've sort of got. They do have a lot of areas covered. That's the thing to sort of look at. Just trying to think they could just add in depth players. Essentially, that they've gone and got Tobin Murray from the VFL. Yeah, there's not much I can cover else there. That they're pretty good. Just adding in depth is priority for them. And maybe they could have maybe, they got McVie coming in as a I guess he will cover a bit of the halfback and a bit of a dash and carry type player who can play on the mid tools or, above height tools to small forwards as a defensive role. So, yeah, I mean, they're done well. There's not much that they could cover. And that covers the Fremantle Draft Chats. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Like and subscribe.